Going to your name, SYML, which means simple, but that's something that you're looking for, space in music, I believe. I've listened to the album, and why is that important? Why is kind of not trying to fill it up important?
Yeah, again with the whole like getting older perspective and really less is more. I mean that's something I think a lot of people can agree with about, like in terms of your house, like just having less stuff is always better. In art, like, you know, I'm attracted to art that is not cluttered and is really clearly communicating something. And for music too, it's easy to kind of write a crappy song and then put a bunch of like things into it to distract from the fact that it's like not a great song. And then people are like, oh, that's a pretty good song, like, oh, because it's like distracting and there's a bunch of like bells and whistles going off. And I'm not trying to call anybody out. I've done that like a lot. Like because every musician gets fascinated with a little like, ooh, like what can they do here? Like, look at this amazing synth or like guitar, whatever. But at the end of the day, if you don't have like a story or like a song to put forth, like, then it's kind of a waste of time, in my opinion. Yeah, so SYML, meaning simple, is like the best reminder that I can have, like kind of like across the board, not just musically, but in my life. And it's always going to be a challenge to do that, because I think our natural like human want is to have like bring things around us and like keep things like material and otherwise. So yeah, for musically it is a reminder to keep it simple and just say what you mean. And it doesn't need to be like the most epic statement. It can be a really like simple statement, but that's all it should be, and don't add too much to it.
And about this having a story to tell, was it daunting for you to delve into your own psyche and kind of reveal that to in those songs?
Yeah, but it's also like a really safe place to be at the same time, because when you sing it, for some reason, like when I sing these really intimate things, it's a lot less awkward than if we were just sitting down and I was telling you these really difficult things about like me and about what I've chosen to do over the years and who I've hurt and like what's happened to me that's been hard. But I mean, at this point, I find it really therapeutic. Like I find it cathartic to talk about those things in that way. And it's, I think, to like for somebody like my wife, like who we are very much in love and have a great relationship. But just like every relationship, there are challenges. And like, for instance, me being in Holland right now is hard for her. And to be able to, because I'm not the best, like I can't just like, if we're sitting down talking, I can't just like come up with it on the spot, what I want to say or what I meant, you know, when I said something earlier. But with a song, you can have time to like really digest what happened and what you're thinking about it and what you want to say sort of indirectly to that person. So for me, it's like the perfect delivery system of like hard and good things.
Were there songs on the album then that were directed at your wife?
Yeah, there's some more, there are ones that are more directly to her than just sort of about something that we've experienced together. I like to keep some things ambiguous, not because I'm overly private, but because I think sometimes if songs are overly specific, like they aren't as easily related to by people. But I'm trying to think of any specifics. Like, I mean, the song "Where's My Love" is that was written when we were dating, and there were things that we were going through that were not nearly as dramatic as the song sort of sounds, but metaphorically, there were things we were experiencing. But I didn't sit down and write the song like for her. Like it was like, you know.
Well, I wrote one line down from the song "Better."
Yeah.
And I wonder kind of where that came from. I came into your picture such a broken fool.
Yeah.
So was that about the same time?
Yeah, that was. It was a little bit after, but I wrote that song with a friend of mine, and we were sort of both talking about ourselves to our other partners, and to our respective partners. And I mean, we were both sort of on the same page of like, yeah, our partner was like very much like together and like a good person and like the better person in the relationship. But because of that, it was like making us better as well. Mm-hmm. So when it's not like I was this awful human when I met my wife, but I was definitely like kind of fragmented of what I wanted to do in life, like what I wanted to, the parts of my identity that I wanted to like champion, and then parts that I wanted to stop. And that's where the Broken Fool came in. And I like the idea, we were thinking about this like this shattered mirror, like that you can still see in the mirror like what the object is, like what your face is, mm-hmm. but it's just like totally a million different pieces, which is like the next line of that song. And yeah, I don't know, I liked the visual of somebody still choosing to be with somebody who was like broken and didn't really know who they were all the way.
Because there are a couple of songs where the sense of search for identity and self-doubt is kind of prominent. Mm-hmm. The body is one as well. So are these all about that period where you kind of figured out what you wanted to do and where you wanted to go?
There's a lot of, I think that there are a lot of songs that kind of come back from, I think that for most artists, I'm assuming, there's like a root like moment in time, or like a root part of your being that all the songs sort of come from at a certain point. So yeah, I think, in my life, being adopted at a really young age is one of those parts of that root. Mm-hmm. Like who I love is part of that root. So my family and my friends, and in that, like my search for identity or pursuit of understanding of different things, at some point always comes back to that root. So there's a common thread of, but it's not also like all past things. Like it's like actively. It's
an ongoing thing.
Mm-hmm, it's always going to be ongoing, and I always try to like tap into that when I write songs and listen to that part of my body.
You mentioned catharsis. So does writing these songs and kind of, like I mentioned, delving into your own psyche, does that help with finding kind of an understanding of yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like scratching an itch. It's like, and I might not, when I sit down to write something, I might not even be like totally like battling with whatever I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. But as soon as the music starts happening, and as soon as you like let yourself sort of, I don't meditate, but that's what I imagine meditating is like, is where you just like let everything else kind of like fall away, and then you're sort of left with yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's not a really comfortable place to be all the time, because we all have like crazy stuff about us. So being able to strive to talk about that in a beautiful way is really, it feels really good. And it could be a really dark thing, but it could also be a really happy thing. And at the same time, you kind of end up at the same place of okay, it's out in the open, and I've said what I wanted to say, and I can kind of move on from that now.
Finally, then, expressing these very personal emotions and then sharing them with people, what does it do to you then that people can connect with it and people have an interpretation, have their own sense of that song?
Yeah, I mean, it never ceases to like amaze me, and it's very humbling, like when somebody else can relate to, I know that nobody else has my life. Like, we're not living the exact same life, but because we're human and kind of have a set limit of senses and experiences, that, it's sort of automatically someone's going to relate to it. What's crazy to me is that, a song like Where's My Love, especially with the music video, like dealing with some kind of heavy themes, people can really like relate from all over the spectrum of love and fear and like even like self-hate, like not wanting to be here anymore, and which, you know, 99% of those, how they came to it is not what I intended in the song, but that doesn't make it bad. I think it's only good that people can come from so many different ways to relate to it.
Is there one story that you've heard from a fan or somebody that sticks out for you?
There are a lot of them. I mean, just yesterday, somebody wrote me and said that right around when her like father passed away, like which was like a year ago now that the song came out, a little bit over a year. That's like when she found the song, and it wasn't like a sad, I'm just gonna keep mourning my father thing. It was more of a, oh, things are gonna be okay. Like I can sort of live in this moment and feel it fully. So not run away from it, but also fully feel it, which is good and bad. Like, you know, there are a bunch of stories like that where it's usually sad stuff. Like there's a root of sadness, I think, in it. But again, like I said, like it feels like scratching an itch sometimes. Like it feels good if you can really fully mourn something. You know.
In that sense, then this is going to be the final question. But do you want people to take away a certain thing, or is it kind of left up to them?
It's totally left up to them. There's some songs on the new EP that, well, I guess there's like maybe one on the new EP, but on an upcoming full length, which I don't know when it's going to come out, I write more about like my past with spirituality, which I hope, because there are things in relationships that I have done that I hope people don't do, but in my past with like religion and stuff, I have kind of started to write more about that intentionally. I think it'll still be sort of obscure for people to understand, but it's the first time that I've written from a perspective of like, I want to talk about what I think this is as a whole and what I might see that is like wrong with it, in my opinion, and maybe hopefully like starting a bit of a dialogue about that, where previously I hadn't really wanted all that feedback of I wasn't looking for opinions, even though I think it's great that people can relate to it. Yeah, I don't know, that's sort of a weird question, a weird answer, but yeah, I'm excited about the new music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.